What's up investors, Ben here and welcome to Motivation to Invest. The social media landscape is a battleground with Facebook as a superpower and an empire of apps such as WhatsApp and Instagram. However, there are a few smaller and trendy social networking companies which are gaining traction fast. So in this video, I'm going to deep dive into my top 2 and do a full stock analysis. But before we get started, guys, if you appreciate analysis like this, then feel free to give the video a big thumbs up. That helps us to wake up the YouTube AI. And if you're new around here, why not join the community by hitting that subscribe button below? It's completely for free, so you've got nothing to lose. If you want more investing tips and exclusive stock market picks, which I'm personally investing into. With that being said, let's dive in. Kicking things off at stock number 1 is Snapchat. Ticker symbol SNAP. Snapchat was a pioneer and true innovator for sending and receiving images. They were also a pioneer of using augmented reality on these apps. For example, by allowing people to wear dog ears, if that's your type of thing. Now, many of you guys have requested a video on Snapchat for a while now, and there's a reason I've been putting it off. I've noticed a systemic change in the industry. So Snapchat was original and revolutionary, but Mark Zuckerberg and the Facebook empire saw this and decided to copy the little guys. They noticed the Snapchat format and said, okay, that's pretty cool. Now let's introduce Instagram stories, which is near enough the exact same thing. When I saw Facebook blatantly copy Snapchat's entire business model and put it as Instagram stories, I thought, okay, that's the nail in the coffin for Snapchat.
It's over, enough!
And to be honest, in the West, I was correct. However, Snapchat has been fighting back in other parts of the world.
Over till it's over.
Was that from the 80s?
It's probably the 70s.
Diving into this chart here, we can see Snapchat's average daily active user growth in North America was virtually flat, only a 7% increase between Q3 of 2019 and Q3 of 2020, which is extremely slow for a social media company. Also in Europe, it was virtually flat with just 10% growth. Now, I personally believe that was due to my initial instinct about the Instagram story issue. However, in the rest of the world, Snapchat has seen a 43% increase between Q3 of 2019 and Q3 of 2020 in average daily active users. So that's a great sign to see. So where are all these users coming from? Surprisingly, India seems to be a really popular market for Snapchat right now. Over 100% increase in daily active user growth in India, which is incredibly high. However, there is a negative of this, and I have to put this out there. Yes, it's great Snapchat has seen international user growth. However, the major negative of this, advertisers tend to value US customers, Canadian customers, and European customers more than those in the rest of the world. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way advertising works. US customer is worth more to the investor and also to Snapchat than each, say, customer in India. And that's just the way it is for advertisers. However, there is another positive for Snapchat. So they have seen an increase in the second metric, which is great to look at. So you want to be looking at the average user growth and also the average revenue per user. Average revenue per user is up 28% year over year. Up North America, now this is the key because North America is the market which advertisers love. So that's up 46%, $3.75 to $5.49, which is fantastic. The rest of the world is actually minus 6%. So perhaps they've not started to monetize that rest of the world part of the business yet, but that's exactly what I alluded to. Advertisers have seen more value in North America and their North American users than they have in the rest of the world, despite them having a 100% increase in India. Now, Snapchat is also extremely popular with Gen Zs or Generation Z. These are people born between 1996 and 2010. Wow, that's making me feel old. And they've had over 30 app opens per day. So the more times that Snapchat's customers are using the apps, the better it is for the business, as advertisers can gain more impressions on their ads. Thus, this will boost their average revenue per user. Over the past 5 years, Snapchat has seen incredible revenue growth. 2016, 590% year over year growth. And then it dropped 104%, 43%, 45% still pretty good. Generally, I say a growth stock should have revenue growth of at least 15 to 20%, so 45% is extremely good. However, another reason why we may be seeing slower growth in the US and European markets in terms of users could be due to the high penetration in those areas. They say over 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds of the US population currently use Snapchat, and over 75% of 13 to 34-year-olds of the US population use Snapchat. Now that is incredible statistics. Like, I personally have an account, but I've not used it in years, so maybe they're looking at that. I'm not sure. I'd have to dive into that a little bit deeper, but still it's high numbers. The negative for investors is that means we can't expect much more growth in the developed markets, which is the most valuable market for advertisers. So they're still being very innovative when it comes to ads. So they've got a Gucci ad here, which they've leveraged AR lenses, so augmented reality lenses, to allow their Snapchat users to virtually try on and purchase a pair of Gucci shoes. So that's a very interesting development. It's very popular. I can imagine that being extremely popular with fashion brands who wish to advertise on Snapchat, because you just can't get that type of advertising anywhere else on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else. Also been working on a variety of innovative new content. So they've got the Lens Studio, which is augmented reality. You see we've got a T-Rex here walking in the streets. They've got their AR creator community, and they've got Snapchat Original. So these are original mobile content, which is purely for Snapchat. So that's extremely interesting. Also, you've got here Coach Kevin Hart there. Now back to the numbers. Free cash flow for the company did increase, which was fantastic to see, 58% to $341 million. Negative though, so they still have negative free cash flow. So Snapchat's stock has skyrocketed this past year and is up by over 369%. Now that is incredible. It does now have a very high valuation. So the price to sales ratio is 27. Now that means you're paying 27 times the company's sales. So that is an extremely high valuation. So what are my final thoughts on Snapchat? Well, what do I like? I love that they're growing their revenue per user. I love that they're growing their user base. What don't I like? I don't like that their user growth in developed markets, which is the most valuable to advertisers, is extremely slow. And I also don't like the company doesn't really have a strong moat which can stop other companies from just copying any innovative features which they come up with. And we've seen this with Instagram copying their Instagram stories. So to me, this is definitely one to watch. It's not personally investment for me at this time. I do have a large stake in Facebook stock, but I'd love to know your thoughts on Snapchat. Do you still use it and why? What do you consider unique about Snapchat compared to other platforms? For example, look at TikTok. TikTok with this new innovative platform, they took the world by storm. Now TikTok's been banned in multiple countries, and also Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook have basically copied TikTok, again, developed something on their Instagram app called Instagram Reels, which is basically just the same as TikTok. TikTok creators who usually create their dancing videos are just posting the same videos onto Instagram Reels. Now, that could signal the end for TikTok, but that doesn't really bother us too much because it's still a private company. So stock number 2 is an interesting one. They've not had all the hype. Their stock price hasn't skyrocketed, but it's been around for quite a while now, and still it's just been trundling along. So could this be a great social networking value play? So what's this stock which I speak of? Well, that is Twitter. So Twitter was founded in 2015 by Jack Dorsey, who's also the CEO of Square, the popular fintech app. I've got a video on Square you can check out. I'll leave that in a link above and below. So Twitter's original idea was basically to send something similar to a text message to multiple users globally. This was later expanded to the famous 280 characters. But Twitter really gained popularity when it took a new role for celebrities and especially political officials as a megaphone for the former president Donald Trump. He used this like a town square podium to attack critics and speak to followers directly. On Twitter, Trump even tweeted at Kim Jong-un, stating, "I also have a nuclear button and mine is much bigger." Now, that caused so much controversy on Twitter because people were saying you can't be saying stuff like that on a social media platform. This is crazy. We need regulation. We need restrictions put in. But then what happened is when Twitter started restricting content, people were saying, I like free speech. This is wrong that you're restricting the content. Twitter have been in this constant battle of free speech. We've also seen a boost in social media activism, which has come from Twitter. Now, Twitter is one of those companies, it's been around since 2015, but it's not been growing at the same speed as companies such as Facebook. And many have been asking the question, why? So between 2015 and 2018, Twitter was stuck at around 300 million active users, and its share price peaked close to its IPO, which was a worrying sign. The company also went through a period with a high turnover of executives, and many companies passed on acquiring Twitter, including Google and Salesforce. However, the positive is Twitter is now improving its platform. They've introduced something called trending topics to boost engagement on the platform. They also trialed something called Twitter voice tweets, which I thought was incredibly innovative, as I think normal social media comments are just so passive, whereas if people could actually speak with their own voice, they may not only be more expressive, but it's also more engaging for everybody. There's also a major competitor to Twitter due to this whole free speech issue, and that was a conservative app called Parler. Parler positions itself as a free speech alternative to Twitter and has been growing fast. So diving into the Q3 results for Twitter, let's see how well this company has been doing. So the good news is advertisers significantly increased their investment in Twitter in Q3, engaging our larger audience around the return of events and increased product launches, driving revenue to 936 million, up 14% year over year. The average monetizable daily active users grew 29% year over year. So how much money is Twitter making per user? To 187 million. This was driven by global conversion around the current events and product improvements. So Twitter's revenue has increased to $936 million, as is its monetizable daily active users. But the company is not growing anywhere near as fast as Snapchat in terms of user growth or monetizable daily active users. But the great news about that, we do see a much better valuation. So the company has a price to sales of 9.89, so you're paying 9 times the company's sales to purchase shares in Twitter, whereas Snapchat's around 27, so Snapchat's nearly 3 times as high in terms of its valuation. So it is more of a value play if you're looking for a value play in the social networking space. Now, like Snapchat, the company does have negative free cash flow, minus $74 million in Q3 of 2020. Do expect profitability by 2021. So they do have a path to profitability. It's just whether you have faith in the way Twitter is executing, because that's always been the major issue for Twitter. People say, yeah, it's great, people are using your platform, but how can you make money with ads? Now, the company does have a strong balance sheet, 4.44 on the current ratio. So current ratio is basically the ratio between the cash and the short-term debts. That's those due within the next 12 months. Generally, I look for at least 1.5 to 2. That means the company has enough cash to pay off its short-term debts. This has a current ratio of 4.44, so that is great. So overall, both Snapchat and Twitter are two very interesting stocks. The great thing about both companies is they both have extremely strong brands, which can act as a competitive advantage. So now Snapchat is the fast-growing company, and I do like it for many reasons, apart from the fact that it's not growing in developing countries. So that is a major issue for there, and it does have a high valuation. Whereas Twitter is the underdog. It has slower growth, slower monetizable revenue per user. However, I'm not going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger. There is an interesting growth stock, which I personally have invested in right now. So Pinterest, I did a full stock analysis on this. This is definitely one of the fastest growing platforms right now. It's highly monetizable, so advertisers love Pinterest. I did a full analysis on that stock, so I'll leave that in the link below. And if you guys found some value in this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. That helps out tremendously with the YouTube AI. And if you're new around here and you still haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, join the community, and turn that notification bell on. With that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in my next video. Invest safe.